Linda Partner. I'm the Vice President of Analytics for Pythian. We are a deeply technical company. In the analytics side, which is our fastest growing part of our business, we do have great expertise in Hadoop for analytics, but increasingly over the last 3 years, we've really shifted a lot of our focus to helping companies take advantage of cloud to modernize their data platforms and to power their analytics. And all of the stories that I'm going to tell you now are really driven by the capabilities of cloud. So even though we're technical, to me it's really important to start with what the outcomes are. And over the course of these years, we sort of developed this roadmap or this maturity curve for most people who are embarking in an analytics journey. Not everybody starts at the left and moves to the right, but there is sort of a repeated pattern. When people are starting out, what they really want to do is see their business. They want to be able to get insights, and the challenge that they're facing is that their data is fragmented all over the place. Is this resonating with everyone? Yeah, a couple of nods. And that, surprisingly, for non-technical people, is super difficult to do. And then they get really greedy. They say, well, I don't just want all my data, but I want all my data regardless of whether it's structured or unstructured, whether we control it or whether a SaaS provider controls it. And then, IT starts to go, whoa, 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 this is getting kind of big. A traditional data warehouse really can't deal with this kind of thing. So we need to look at something new. So anyway, if we can solve that problem about giving business users the ability to get insights and to see the business, the next thing that happens is they start going, well, it's nice that you're telling me that and I can act on it, but wouldn't it be really cool if the data could tell me what to do next? Not just what's happened in the past, but what to do next. So the next evolution in the journey is they start saying, how can I use technology to help me predict what we should do next in the business? And then after they've done that, they say, okay, well, we're getting these predictions. Can't we just take the predictions and make those predictions enable a business process automatically? And then you have your data, not just giving insights and not just giving predictions, but actually taking actions, independent of any human. And that's what we call the do phase. And then the last one, which we're seeing in more often now, is, okay, now that I've got all this data together, I'm getting my insights and my predictions, and I've actually embedded it in other systems, can I use that data to actually create products? And when you start creating products, then you can really get into the area of driving revenue and creating whole new businesses that you might not have thought about before. So the customers that I'm going to talk to you about are at different stages in this journey. And the first one that I'm going to speak about is it's a luxury retailer who, if you are a woman and like purses, you would recognize right away. And this retailer, are there retailers in the room? Any retailers? Yeah, okay. So this retailer, they started out with a really simple challenge. And all they wanted to do was to be able to see all of their sales across all of their channels. And turns out that all of their e-commerce platforms were in one system and their store systems were in another. And what they were doing is creating this ginormous spreadsheet by cutting and pasting data from different systems. This spreadsheet, when we looked at it, was so complicated that we dubbed it the spreadsheet that ate New York. And they were spending, I think, 150 to 200 hours a month just doing this cut and paste, and inevitably there are problems with that. You have human error problems when you're cutting and pasting, your formulas break, you try to share that spreadsheet with other people, and that was surprisingly a huge problem for them, to the point where they were prepared to invest in getting rid of all the work that they were doing, put everything in the cloud if they could only automate this. And that was their first step along the journey. We simply gave them the ability to get insights by pulling all their data together into a single place, hooking it up with a Tableau dashboard, and then we eliminated all the work that they had been doing manually. And in the course of doing this, we created a monster, because they had a taste of what could be done. And while IT had a vision on what they could do with the data, it was the business who came back and said, wait a minute, I'm beginning to get it right now. And the next thing they came up to us and said is, could we use data to maybe predict some fashion trends? Maybe we could. And then the next day they came back and they said, do you think we could use data to be able to figure out when someone comes to our website whether they're likely to return and send them on a different journey than somebody that we know isn't a very good buyer? I think we could. And so what happened is that they started out with solving a simple problem, and the business got a taste of what they were capable of doing with data, and they eventually started morphing into not just doing analytics and Power BI dashboards, but now they're actually running machine learning programs to figure out answers to these really complicated problems that a human could never do themselves at scale, and then embedding the outcome of that machine learning algorithm into their website so that the entire experience changes based on what the algorithm is saying. And they are extremely happy and have 17 more ideas on where they can go next. So they really went from see to predict to a little bit of do. A second organization that I can talk about, is Cricket and Wales Board. Cricket and Wales, England. You guys know these people probably better than I do. But they had a fascinating challenge. They started out by realizing they had to get their data act together to get insights. And so they did that. Took them, 5-6 months, and they were very happy with it. But the whole time that they were getting their data act in order, they knew that they were doing it for a bigger purpose. And the bigger purpose for them was the ability to analyze video. And think about a traditional data warehouse platform. You could never analyze video in it. The cloud allows it to do it. So in the course of figuring out how to analyze video, they took advantage of the agility and the cost effectiveness of cloud, used machine learning, and they effectively are now able to, in all the video streams that come in from fans, from the television networks, from the sportscasters, and in almost real time, isolate those clips of the video that are going to be useful to drive ongoing fan engagement. And whether that's being able to say an instant replay to a fan who's curious about a particular player, whether it's providing that video back to the coaching staff, they were able to analyze, isolate, and deliver the right piece of video at the right moment to the right consumer. And that, to me, was just a fascinating example of how, if you can get your data act together, you can start tapping into it to do things that would have been impossible 3, 4, 5 years ago. The last one that I can talk about is a company called Teck. Teck is a mining company. They have these trucks that are 4 times taller than I am, weigh hundreds of thousands of pounds, and have about 500 sensors on them that produce 2 gigabytes of data every single day. And these trucks are driving around in remote areas, including in Canada, and they're super expensive. They have to drive really, really far, and if they break, the whole mining operation comes to a halt. So what the company wanted to do, probably less sexy than video analysis for fan engagement, but equally important, was to be able to predict when a truck needed servicing in advance of anything going wrong. And to be able to do that and analyze that amount of data that was streaming from all of these vehicles and bringing in data from other sources, and then using a machine learning algorithm to figure out what are all the combinations of factors that would say, hey, time to service this machine, was an incredibly difficult challenge that was only possible because they were doing this in the cloud. So now what happens is they proactively fix their machines, and their failure rate has gone down 10 times what it was before they started doing this. So you've got everything from improving fan engagement or customer experience to operational improvements, through to figuring out what the next fashion trend is. But what they all have in common is that underneath, they needed to have this modern data platform. All of them tried to do this without getting their data act in order first, and all of them failed. And so the lesson that's learned from all of this is before you get too far down the path of trying to use data to create business outcomes, take some time to step back and get that data platform in order. Create this modern data platform. And a modern data platform, this is not my definition. This is, I think, Gartner or Forrester or someone like that. But it makes sense, right? It's a single, unified platform that allows you to bring all your data together and integrate it so that you no longer have the silos that most of you are struggling with right now. And it's capable of using all types of data and performing high-value analytics on it. And once that's in place, then you can start to get the real power of analytics. You can start to make data available to every user, every business person in your company, not just those people who today have special powers to be able to dig into the data. And it can support business users, power users, data scientists, because that's what we all want, right? We all have a picture of a company where everybody is tapping into the data, where they are happy to have shared their data with the rest of the world because they see the value in bringing all of their data together into a single spot. And, you know, they're not simple to do. When you think about having to make it robust and flexible and modular and scalable and cost-effective and manageable, and then think about trying to do all of this with every single piece of data from thousands of data sources in real time, increasingly, it starts to get a little bit challenging. And Hadoop, that we've been working with for 10 years, can no longer do this particularly cost-effectively. Traditional data warehouses just can't do this cost-effectively. But cloud-native data platforms can. And we're starting to see that every single customer who comes to us with their analytics challenges effectively ends up in the cloud.